Hello, everybody. My name is Chase Zeanchock. I am actually in my sixth year here at Coastal Carolina University. My undergrad experience, I did a lot with intramurals and club sports. My graduate assistantship, I was an outdoor recreation GA. So for my internship, I wanted to go down a different route, which was varsity athletics, specifically being a facilities and game day operations intern. And this will be my internship and special project presentation. So, as an overview, I'll go over my internship experience, the goals and objectives I had. I'll go over recommendations for a future intern slash the internship as a whole. I will talk about my special project experience, the goals and objectives I had for that, as well as applying class concepts into the internship experience and the special project. So, for my internship experience in the fall, we offer 6 different sports that you can work, that being men's and women's soccer. You have men's and women's basketball, women's volleyball, and then you have men's football. All of these sports are different with their pregame setup, working during the game, and the postgame breakdown. For pregame setup, the HTC Center, you're worrying about basketball, you're getting all of the racks out, you're setting up the bleachers, manually screwing in the handrails and side rails, putting up the aprons on the side of the bleachers so no equipment can go underneath. Football, you're doing walkthroughs. All these venues, you're doing walkthroughs of the facility. But for football, you're getting the yard markers out, you're getting the pylons out, you're making sure the net can go up and down with no tears or gashes in the net itself. And then for soccer, you're getting things like the corner flags out. You're getting the practice nets out, the practice goals out, the practice balls and the game balls. Work during the game. It's going to be different depending on which sport you are working. For volleyball and soccer, they're fairly similar. You are going to be more of a ball boy. You're actively carrying a ball and distributing it to the players to continue the pace of play without any disruption or interference with the game. For football, you are going to be the net guy. You're pulling the net up and down for field goals and extra points. And then for basketball, you're more of a sweat guy. You're going out there with a sweat mop, and if somebody falls on the floor, you're quickly sweeping it up and drying it off to make sure that nobody can get hurt and prevent further injuries. Post-game breakdown, it's different depending on the venue that you are working at. If you're working in the HTC Center, you're breaking down those bleachers, the handrails, the side rails, the aprons. You're also, for volleyball, you're peeling off the tape. For basketball, you're bringing down the goals and you're pushing them back into storage. For soccer, you're gathering all those corner flags. You're gathering the practice nets, pushing them to the side. You're bringing down the flag from the flagpole. And then for for football, you're gathering those pylons and the yard markers. You're pulling down the net. You're pushing the trash out of the way, things of that nature. One thing that I got to develop as far as my internship goes was my professional communication. Varsity athletics, you're always on a timer. You always gonna need to hit a certain time. And within that, you need to communicate effectively with other departments. The first one I can think of is like broadcasting. You guys all need to be on the same page as far as that goes. New connections. I was able to meet a lot of new people. My experience all the way through college has been mainly recreation, so getting my name out there in the varsity athletics world is something that I'm proud of. And then other things you do not on game days during the week, whether that's cutting up small turf patches to give the calf, you're cleaning storage areas out, even doing walkthroughs of the facility, making sure there's no gashes on the court, there's no tears in the field. You're doing these things before game day so you can make sure things are set up and everything can run smooth on game day. So my first internship goal and objective was to develop my network beyond university recreation. Within facilities and game day operations, there's only a handful of professional staff. My SMART objective said to connect with 10 professional staff. We just don't have 10 that are specifically facilities and game day operations. However, I was still able to reach that goal of getting 10 connections via student workers, interns, and the pro staff itself. My second goal was to better my problem solving skills. Early in the year, we had really bad rain and we were supposed to have soccer games that night. Bobby ended up calling us in early. We tried to squeegee off the fields to be proactive as far as that goes. and it was working, but it didn't work well enough because we had the referees come out and see if it was game day ready, the field was in game condition, and it was not in game condition. So Bobby taught me early on in my internship, you want to be proactive rather than reactive. We were able to save everybody's time and reschedule earlier than expected that night. Other small things like somebody getting injured. Early in the season, we had a girl get nailed in the face with a soccer ball, and she had a head and neck injury. So not just calling the trainers out, but understanding to quickly call EMS to make sure that everything will be okay. And I'll dive deeper into those emergency action plans. My third objective was to learn how to handle game day logistics, specifically the 6 game day checklists. Soccer, men's and women's are basically the same. Same with men's and women's basketball, but understanding the 4 different sports offered, how to do things the proper way, pre-game, during game, and even post-game. Fourth was developing my communication skills. As I said earlier, you're always on a timer, so you need to be able to effectively communicate across departments and with your own teammates and coworkers. Not even just specifically effectively communicating, but you need to be clear and concise with what you're saying so everybody understands what's happening and you're hitting that time. My last goal, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, learning the emergency action plans when I created my internship goals and objectives. This was before I started working, so at the time I thought there was one for each specific sport. However, it's based on the venue that you were working at. For injuries, it's let the athletic trainer handle it. If they deem that it's above their pay grade or that the injury is too severe, we will then call public safety and EMS, have them come onto the field, and we will take care of things after that. For the most part, each procedure is fairly similar. As far as EMS enters that venue is going to be different though. So what recommendations do I have for future interns? Be available. This kind of ties into time management. I'm a GA, so I'm normally working 4 to 5 hours each day of the week. All games are normally during the week at night. So being available to work nights is huge. On the weekends, whether that's working a game at 2 o'clock or a game at 6 o'clock, you got to make sure that you're available and ready to work. Be trustworthy. Early into the semester, Bobby and the other pro staff show you how to do things like the facility walkthroughs, how to set up the corner flags, how to gather all the practice nets, etc. And after a while, they just tell you, hey, go do it yourself. So being able to gain that trust and be able to set things up is something that you need to be able to understand and be able to complete. Timing. As I said, varsity athletics all runs on a time. You need to be able to understand that you're doing things for a reason and that you need to do it in a certain amount of time to continue the broadcast. Develop professional communication. Like I said, if you are mumbo jumbo, not really talking clear and concise, or you're not really explaining something that's happening to your other staff, it could throw everything off. And that ties into the timing. It could throw the whole broadcast off. And then you need to understand how to work as a team, not just with the fellow facilities and game day operations people, but also the other departments that are requiring us and relying on us to do certain things in a certain amount of time. So the learning application of my internship, first off, leadership, transformational leadership. As the semester went on, I gained more trust. I tried leading by example with my fellow interns. Taking that step, showing them, hey, this is how things should be done. We need to do it in this manner, this quickly, so we can move on and get to the next task. Sport law, risk management, things like safety and security protocols. That example I mentioned earlier, Bobby, making sure that we can squeegee the field off and the refs deeming it not game safe. That was risk management. He foresaw somebody getting hurt on the field. And then governance and policy. I learned several different D1 policies, and there are reasons why things happen, from something as simple as how to sub college players in. So what was my special project? My special project was based around creating a survey that revolved around things like pre-event experience, your in-game experience, concessions, restrooms, entry access, pre-game parking, how good was signage, staff interaction, etc. And I also asked more open-ended questions as well. But I wanted to get a good idea of different things that facilities and game day is doing well at, as well as what we can improve on. So my first goal and objective for my special project was to try and get as much feedback as I can across all 6 sports. I specifically wanted to get 20 people from each sport to take the survey. Sorry, 20 people, 20 fans from each sport to take the survey, to total at 100. This was far-fetched. This was hard to do. A lot of the people at the smaller attending sports did not want to take the survey. So I was able to get 66 out of 100, which I still think is really good. However, I was not able to hit that main goal of getting 20 from each sport at 100 total. My second goal was to identify areas for improvement. By the end of the semester, I'll compile data, and I actually wrote a report on things that we can improve on and things that are going well. But as you can see on the right-hand side, I have a picture that says, how would you rate your experience with parking and entry into the venue? That deals with signage, the staff working, making sure that they're able to enter the parking lot, etc. 75% of the people said that it was average to great, which is obviously a good sign that we are thriving in that area. Something that some fans mentioned was that we need to improve on our safety and security protocols. Some people didn't even notice any security anywhere throughout the stadium, which obviously is not a good thing. So that's something that we can improve on in the future. And my last goal and objective was to create a long-lasting fan engagement evaluation tool. I wanted to create a survey that had a minimum of 10 questions catered to the fan engagement process as a whole. As you can see in the picture, I was able to create a total of 15 questions, and these all were differing questions, whether that's entry process, that's signage, that's how was the lighting during the game, how was your interaction with staff during the game. I had a broad variety of questions that I was asking. So what is my analysis based on my special project? Well, I got to figure out the top things that CCU does well. As I mentioned those earlier, I was able to figure out what could be improved on as well. Something specific that I struggled with during the special project was getting a large amount of people to take the survey. A lot of the majority of the people who took it were around my age to young professionals, as they understood that area more. So being able to tap into different demographics is something that I kind of struggled with while doing the special project. I learned that things can always be improved on, whether that's taking a specific look into something as far as this lighting thing is giving me headaches. Many people are saying that. Many people are saying they don't have good entry process and that it takes time to get into the gates, things of that nature. It's easy to diagnose what is going well and what's going wrong when you create a survey like this. And for myself in the future, this was a great template to figure out how I can do a survey for myself wanting to work in intramurals. In the future, I could do things of what sports do you want to see? Why do you think it went well? Does something in the facility need fixed? All of these are just a good template, not only for myself, but the professional staff can use it as well as future interns. So what are my recommendations for the special project? Well, as I mentioned earlier, you want to create a more friendly way of getting all ages to access the survey. I struggled with the older demographic. Maybe they just didn't want to do it. They thought it was going to be a waste of time, or they just weren't interested. Market the survey differently. I would go at it as trying to email everybody who has season tickets and email them the form and say, hey, you're dedicated to us. Show us what we can improve on. I did not do that. I think that would be a great idea to get more results in though. And then focus on 2 to 3 areas and design your questions based on those areas. Like I said, I was kind of a little bit all over the place as far as figuring out what we could work on and what was going well. So I would focus on 2 to 3 things, whether that's specific signage, whether that's focusing on staff interactions, whether that's things that we do as far as in-game activities, focusing on 2 to 3 key areas. And then the learning application. I took a lot of things from our research class, specifically how to create a survey, like the Likert scale, open-ended questions, and even closed-ended multiple choice questions. I also took things from our fan behavior class, our marketing concepts. I was able to post physical flyers up for people to take walking across the facility, as well as telling a friend to tell a friend, word of mouth. So to wrap things up, the internship taught me a lot as far as how varsity athletics works. I talked about how my special project can help me in the future. It's a great template. I discussed different class concepts that relate to the special project and the internship as a whole, and I gave future recommendations as far as what could be done for the special project and the internship experience. And that will be my presentation. Thank you guys.